Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the Shitty Questions podcast. Joining me today is Unknown, and I'm your host for today, Melissa. How are you doing, Unknown?
Doing well, doing pretty good. Just hanging out, had a pretty decent day at work, and I'm currently drinking on an Andy Gator.
Oh,
It
I,
is a
I thought it was gonna be
Healy's
the Miller Lite.
Doppelbock. I changed it up this time. Some changes we might have already happened by the time this airs.
Oh, is there like a is there like a different ambiance in this room? Because it feels kind of new in here. See a
Ooh,
nice
I
little
know. I
paint
think
job
we got
around
some
us.
new, got a new fresh coat of paint. Um,
Mm-hmm.
got some new things,
New comfy beer. I
some
mean,
new,
new comfy couch.
yes. Some new nice smoky effects. We went and bought a fog generator to go along with our shitty question generator.
Hell yeah, and it's not a shitty fog. It's like one of those newer fog lights.
Right. I had some trouble with the delivery guy. Almost kind of made me want to get mad.
Hey, but at least everything looks all nice and cool here. Don't know how much longer we're gonna keep this decoration until we get bored of it and change it again, but this is definitely really nice compared to what we had before with like the really shitty drawings to go with the shitty podcast.
Oh yeah, that was that was beginner stuff. Now we're moving on to professional
Yeah, we're
podcasting.
moving on to the big world. Yes.
Yeah,
So I did want to go over because we did have like a request, and where is it at? Hold on, let me find it. I am like not prepared for today, so
finally a request.
I know,
The
right?
viewers, the viewers are calling in.
All right, so we did have a request from Monica, and it says she wants a fight story or something that almost made you fight someone.
Hmm,
Mm.
indeed. I wasn't very much of a fighter, but do have a couple of stories. Um, got a really, really cheesy one that I remember. It was me and a friend. He was like my childhood friend, I guess. We kind of grew up together, and we were, I think it was like the weekend, and we were hanging out. We had to been like 10 or 11, and he came over to stay the night, and we're like playing with Legos and shit, and building stuff here and there, and we're having a good time. And then all of a sudden, I think he takes a piece that I wanted, but I wanted the piece, and like said that I need it, but then he took it. And then I got mad that he took it back from him, and then we got into basically not an arm wrestling match, but you know how like when you're trying to take something from like your friend or your sibling, and it goes back and forth, and then
Oh yeah.
somehow I ended up on the like his back trying to like yank the Lego piece from him, and then like somehow my hand got caught in his mouth and he bit me, and
Oh.
then because I guess I was trying to put him in a chokehold or something, and because he bit me, I bit him like right on top of his head, and like we got into a little scrap, and then I just remember like either my mom like walked in or something, and we started crying and all over a fucking Lego piece.
Hey, when you're kids, like that's kind of what you have though. That's the only stuff that you have. So it means a lot.
Right? It was, yeah, it was quite the little quarrel, and
Did it teach you
definitely
how
a
to
good
kick
time.
some ass in the future?
It it taught me to not worry about bullshit.
Yeah, a lot of experiences do end up doing that to you. My experience was more closer to adulthood. So I mean, as many of you guys know, I used to work at a pizza place, and working in fast food, you deal with a lot of shitty people. And so, I mean, I've had a lot of shitty customers in the past, but there's like there's a select few that you just never seem to forget. And so,
Right.
yeah, there was this one time I was just managing at the pizza place, and um, so one of my employees turns in the pizza to the customer, and she like looks at the box, and she's like, "This is not a large." So then I come over, and I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, this is absolutely a large. This is what our larges look like." And then I pointed because we had a sign that had like showed you what a small, medium, large was, like right in front of where you would order, so you would know exactly what size you're getting. So I
Right.
point at that, and then she's like, "Absolutely not right." And then I forgot what she said, but she's like, "I'm gonna go get my wallet." So I'm like, "Okay." So we just wait, and then she like storms back inside, and she's like, "I want my money back." So I'm like, "Okay." Look over. She paid with card. Simple. So I go to hit the refund button, give her the receipt, and I'm like, "Okay, here's the money got returned back to your card, so you're all good to go." And then she looks at me. She's like, "No, I want it in cash." It's like, "Okay, well, I can't do that because you paid in card. The only way to return the money is through card, right? Otherwise, I'm
Right.
just giving you free money."
That
Um,
yeah, that's like store policy. Yeah.
exactly. So she's like, "That's not true. I used to work at Jack in the Box, and we used to be able to do it that way. If you paid with card, you could return in cash. So you're lying to me." And I'm just like, kind of shocked. Like, this bitch is kind of crazy. So I look over at my general manager, and he's about to leave, but he's just kind of standing there. So he joins in. He's like, "No, ma'am, like, we can't do that. You paid with card, so we're returning the money in card. We already returned it to you, so we're not just going to hand you money." And then she starts screaming at him and just like, I can't even remember what she said because so long ago, but she's like throwing a huge scene. So I just widened my eyes because I was just like, why is this lady acting so fucking crazy? So I like back away, and I back away from the counter, and I'm just like standing behind the oven, hearing my manager deal
Right.
with her. And then all of a sudden she like looks over at me, and she's like, "What are you fucking looking at, you stupid bitch? I'm gonna go over there and kick your ass." And I don't know why that just like pissed me off so bad. I like started making a dash for the counter, and I was like, "Get out of my store." And then she's like, "What are you gonna do, huh, you pizza girl?" And like I could just feel
Ooh.
myself ready to jump across the counter and beat her ass because that really fucking pissed me off. So my manager, he like stood between us, and he's like telling me like, "Just go to the back, just go to the back." So I start walking back, and she's like, "Hi, you're just running away from me." And then I hear the register open, and I hear him like hand her the money, and he's just like, "Don't come back." And I was so mad after that because I'm like, "You really gave this lady what she wanted? Like, you just gave her free money after she threatened me? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Instead of taking your employee's side, you're going to take the customer side, even though she threatened me, and you're giving her free money on top of that. I would have called the cops at least." So, yeah, see, talking about it is making me heated because, like, that really was a time I wanted to beat someone's ass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bullshit. I guess I get his perspective, you just kind of paying her off to, leave me the fuck alone and get out of here. That
But,
is pretty wild though.
and the worst part about it was, and this is totally like a clerk's quote, but like I wasn't even supposed to be there that day. So like I was having my day off. I forgot what I was doing. And he like was like, "Hey, can you come cover a shift?" And I forgot. He said he was like gonna give me something in return. So I was like, "Okay, sure." And I stopped what I was doing. I think I was like going to a restaurant or something. And I stopped what I was doing, went to go help him. And this is the fucking bullshit I came to. Um, yeah, at that point, I should have just like told them like, "You know what, you can take over the shift. I'm not doing this anymore." I was so heated the rest of that night. I couldn't even function because I was just incredibly heated, and I was like probably heated for like a whole week because like I just could not believe that this lady got away with getting free money after threatening an employee. Like, I just feel like as a manager, you should side with your employees all the time.
Right. Yeah. The customer's always right.
No, they're not.
Right.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Did you ever have a time where they took the customer side, even though they were 100% wrong?
Um, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but usually it was probably like something in the case of that. Um, I remember I used to work at this go-kart track, and we had a rule that no bumping or whatever, and occasionally we'd let the kids bump or whatever, and we wouldn't say anything. And the owner was there that day, and he was working on go-karts and fixing them. And like as the races were going on, um, like he was bringing the carts out on the track and like testing them out. Well, kids bumping him, he's bumping the kids back, and this old lady just like starts to lose her shit and it's like, I want to speak to your manager.
Oh
That
no.
man is out there bumping kids and y'all aren't doing anything. And I'm just like, all right. So like the owner comes around and I'm like, hey boss man, this lady wants to speak to the manager about a grown man bumping kids in a go-kart. And he just kind of looks at me and he like laughs and he smiles and shakes his head. And then like he goes over and talks to the lady, and of course, he had to apologize, and you
Ugh.
know, he was in the wrong, and I think he ended up giving her like some like either a free go-kart ride or her grandson a free go-kart ride or some shit or whatever. But it was just so funny because it was just like she demanded to speak to the manager, and like the person she had a complaint on was like the boss man. And then like after he left, he was like, fucking bitch.
It's always like they always want free shit. That's all it is.
Right?
It has came to that point in this country where if they just want free shit and they're going to torment you until they get it. Because managers keep catering to people and this is what happens.
Right. I do have a story about somebody I want to fight, and I probably still want to fight them if I see
Oh,
them to this day. And little viewer discretion advised. I used to, you know, be a little I wasn't in college, but college age. This was, 4+ years ago, maybe 5+. And I used to, sell weed and stuff. I was trying to get money to
allegedly. Just gotta throw that.
allegedly,
Yeah,
yes,
allegedly.
I was allegedly selling weed and stuff
Mhm.
to get money to afford a car. And I wasn't getting much. I wasn't like the big man in town getting pounds and pounds of marijuana. But I was getting my little fair share and selling it to people here and there. And there was this one guy that worked with me at the pizza place that I worked at, and he was a cool dude. I think he worked at one of our other stores and became a manager there, and then they moved him over to my store and to get some like training or whatever. And he was a pretty cool dude, Um, like one time I went up there like on my off day to go drink or something, and me and him like took a ride to his house and rolled up some bleezies and smoked them. And but one night he like hits me up and like I'm working and I gotta close, and like me and the bartender and a couple other workers all talking about going back to my place to hang out. And all day he's just like, and he would buy, allegedly buy some
Mhm.
stuff from me and here and there. And he'd been blowing me up all day, like texting me if I could sell him a large amount. And I was like, nah, man, like I can't do that because that was like, he was asking for all of what I had, basically, if I'd sell him everything that I had. And I was like, no, best I can do is half that.
Why couldn't
And
you sell the whole amount?
well, for the price that he wanted, I could get. I can make more profit selling
Oh,
it
he was trying to
to
like
other people.
offer you, like lowball you.
Yeah, get
Okay,
it in bulk.
gotcha.
Um, and he started blowing my phone up all day, and I was like, best I can do is this. And then like he would text me, when you get off work, blah blah blah, and like he kept texting me, and like we're getting close to like closing my shift, and someone else shows up to the work, and they want to get some, and like we're done for the night. I did all my closing duties, and so I was like, yeah, man, just give me a ride home, and I'll hook you up. So he gives me a ride home, and this is someone else, and then I do business with them. They leave, and then I get a phone call from the guy, and he asked me where I'm at, and I'm like, at home, and he was like, are you by yourself? And I was like, yeah, but not
Ooh,
for long.
sketchy.
Oh yeah, super
Yeah.
sketchy. Well, anyways, the people who had planned to come hang out showed up, so it was like four of us, and we're hanging out, we're smoking, and this and that, and they show up, and he shows up with his homeboy, supposedly, allegedly his cousin, and like they walk in, and like I go to like fist bump the guy, and he kind of like half-ass fist bumps me, not looking at me. They kind of walk in, and I guess they assess the situation, and they're like, oh, we got to go grab some more money, and they're like, oh, we left some in the car. And when they walked out, the first thing I said, I was like, they were probably going to try and rob me. And
Oh shit.
in hindsight, things could have gone differently, but
Yeah.
I had I had a little fillet knife, but how everything was set up, I was trying to keep it cool. And it was like me sitting at my desk. And I lived in a studio apartment as well. So like half of it was like my bedroom, and the other half was like my living room
Yeah.
area. And there was like a couch in the middle that separated that, with a desk behind it, which is where my computer desk was.
Wait, I'm
So it was
sorry.
like,
When you said assess the situation, do you mean like he was just taking a look around the room?
well, they had walked in, and I guess they didn't realize that there was going to be four people there.
Oh, gotcha. Preparing for
And
that.
right, it was two
Okay.
girls and me and another guy. And so they leave, and then they come back and they knock on the door. And so I'm like, okay, maybe they do want to buy some. And I'm like on edge, and like I pull it out, and they're looking at it, and it's kind of taking longer. They're like, oh, I want to, look at it, smell it. And all of a sudden, this homeboy pulls a gun out.
Oh
And
no.
how everything was set up was I couldn't move much because it was me in front of my desk with my bed behind me, and then there was
Mhm.
somebody to the left of me. Then it kind of went around like in a half circle, and I had preemptively planned like all this, and like I had a lot more than what they had,
Yeah.
and I hit it all. And of course, the guy who pulls the gun's like not even holding it right, but for the sake of things, like they point the gun at me, then they point the gun at the other guy, and he's like, I ain't got nothing. And then one of the girls, she's like, she pulls out $10 because that's all she had on her, and she tries to give it to him. Or no, 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 no. She pulled out some weed that I had allegedly given to her,
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't want that shit. He's like, I want money. And all they
What?
take from me is they took $10 from one of the girls, and then took $80 from me, and then like maybe enough weed to sell for like $400. And
Ooh.
but I had a lot more stashed away. But yeah, and we let them go. And I was just like, and the whole time that this is happening, like the dude that I worked with, who was a manager at the place I worked at,
Hmm.
who I'd considered my friend, was just looking down at the ground like a little bitch. And when the dude pulled a gun, I looked at him, and I was like, really, bruh? Like, you're gonna pull this shit? And
Well, I mean, he had a gun pointed at him, right? Or what else could you do when you have a gun pointed at you?
well, um, the guy, so it was a setup basically. The guy brought his cousin to rob us, and had there not been people there, it could have went worse. But in the end, there was I ended up not going to the cops or anything because
Yeah,
it
you
was
well, you
like,
really can't. That's the shitty part.
right. But it's funny. I ended up talking to these old like black hood dudes that were like the maintenance guys of the
Hmm.
building that we were in, and they'd come in all the time, and they were all cool with me and shit. And they were like, "Bruh, you're white." They were like, "You could have called for armed robbery," because I mean, technically that's what it was, because they did get money from us. Could have left out everything else, and I think he wasn't working at the job at this point. I think he'd either quit or got fired and was working somewhere else. But like all these people knew him and all these people knew me. And like to this day, I swear, if I ever see him, I'm just gonna probably lose my shit.
Beat his ass. Wait,
And
you're talking about the guy that robbed you or the guy that was looking down that you want to beat his ass?
the guy that was both of them,
Both of
because
them.
they set me up. And
Wow.
I could only imagine like um, what would have happened had I been by myself. I could have been shot. They could have got more than what they got.
Oh
And
yeah.
in the drug world, the $400 worth like wasn't really a lot. And then I told my plug about it, and I explained to my plug who he was, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know him." And but yeah, nothing ever came of it. But yeah, to this day, I'm like, if I ever see his ass, I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
pop him
beat
one.
his ass. Exactly. Wow. I mean, now I know what you mean when you said it, like you were happy to leave that hometown.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, there was like it seemed to be like you were involved with a lot of shitty people.
Shitty people for shitty stories
Oh
on the
yeah.
Shitty Questions
But you know
podcast.
what? Let's flip the script a little bit. And I want to like kind of change it into like a brighter note. I want
Nice.
to talk about building relationships with people, which is totally like the opposite of what we're talking about, but let's give it a try. Um, so
Yeah,
I was listening to like my personal podcast the other day, the what is it called? Sweet Boys podcast. And one thing they were talking about
nice.
is you ever go and it doesn't have to be a date, but like when you go out with friends, where do you and you're like in a dining area, where do you usually place your phone? I'll start with asking you that question.
Um, Either in my pocket or on the table, like next to my dish or something.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's exactly where I put mine. I always rest it on the table. And they were saying that I guess they were doing like some studies and they realized that when you put your phone completely away, like in your pocket or your purse or whatever, you end up having a deeper conversation with the person you're out with.
Hmm.
And yeah, and if you have it on the table, you actually don't have that deep of a conversation. And like I think they said it has something to do with trust. It just like when your phone's going off all the time and you're constantly looking at it, it seems
Right.
like there's like a lack of trust or connection between you and the other person. So I thought that was pretty interesting because I always put mine on the table.
I could see that.
Yeah.
See, I don't get a lot of text or phone calls. So when I put my phone on the table, it's not like it's gonna blow up anyway. However, though, uh, this one bar I go to, there's this old man um, that drinks in there, and we'll chit chat, and he'll tell me stories, and I enjoy talking to him, and he always has some good, interesting shit. But like, if I do get a text message or something, like while he's telling, I'll open up my phone, I'll look at it, and then I'll set my phone down, and then go back to like paying attention to his story.
Yeah. And I think that's what we all do. And maybe that's part of the reason why you don't have that deep of a conversation is because in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, like, did I get a notification? Or, Is someone trying to call me? Should I glance at my phone? And maybe you're just not as like into the conversation.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's still a phenomenon, but you remember phantom vibrations where like you thought you felt like something vibrate, like your phone in your
Yeah,
pocket, but like it wasn't there. I don't get them too much anymore, but I do remember that being a thing. I guess that could tie into thinking like you're getting a notification or something.
exactly. And it's kind of funny because, like, now that I'm saying this, I'm like, my phone is right next to me right now, and maybe this would have been a better podcast if I probably would have, if I would have put it away.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, because we're in the same room.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're in the same podcast
and
designed
and
room.
not several states away,
Yeah, allegedly.
allegedly.
Okay, well, I guess it is time for a, oh my
The
God, the
sh-
shitty oh,
question
shitty questions podcast generator.
generator. Yay!
Okay, let's click.
Let's
Oh,
crank that bad boy up.
I don't know if I like this one, but hey, it's whatever it spits out. It says, "What is your current philosophy about money?"
Oof.
Um,
Oof. Getting deep here today on the Shitty Questions podcast. I mean, money in general, I guess it depends on what you want to define as money. In various what represents the best value of, your money, I guess. Like the American dollar is based on like the gold standard used to be, or, you know, what was it in China and Japan? They used to trade using rice,
yeah,
and it was give you so much rice for a horse. Well, instead of having to barrel around, all this rice, they created denomination, to represent that rice.
it's a better means of trade, essentially.
Yeah, I feel like it's a representation of the bartering system,
Exactly.
but which has been wildly not extorted. Um, Dang, I can't think of the word. Um, Wish I could remember the word. I can't remember. But basically, it's been overdone, manipulated in harmful ways, exploited. That's the word.
Okay. I mean, I the way I look at it is back then, say you were the guy that made bread, and you made all this bread, but what you gonna do with all the bread? You gotta find somebody that's gonna trade bread with you. So you go around and you gotta find just that one person that wants to buy bread, and then you gotta find another person. Just kind of like your alleged previous job, where you gotta find a person to buy it. And I think money gets rid of that barrier because now you don't
Right,
have to find somebody that wants money because everybody wants money.
right.
Makes
Because,
trading a lot easier.
you're a bread maker, but you need oil for something. And, well, say the oil guy doesn't need bread.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Makes it a lot more easier.
it, it maketh the world go round.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that about finishes episode number
10. Ding, 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 ding,
10.
ding.
Yes, episode number 10. We have finally reached that barrier and we're excited to bring new things to this podcast. So, yeah, don't
You
forget to leave
better.
suggestions for us because we might not actually talk about it.
Indeed, most definitely. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy all the updated stuff. And don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, um, ring that notification bell. And with that, I guess we'll take off.
Goodbye.
Bye.